Hello and welcome to our introduction to Apache Solr. We will start off with a few slides to give a general introduction, and then we will continue with a video providing a hands-on encounter to configuring and starting and using Apache Solr. So first of all, what is Apache Solr? It's an open source text search server that is probably also the most used search server in the world. It's powered by a very powerful search engine library called Lucene, which is developed in Java. Lucene is designed to create and query textual indexes, which is exactly what we have in Solr. Both of them are very fast and very sophisticated. So why do we use Apache Solr? First of all, it can be deployed as a Java web server, which means we can have an HTTP interface that we can use to update and retrieve data easily. In Apache Solr we have almost near real-time index updates, which is very neat. When you actually have an index up and running, you can easily update it. So a database in Solr is what we know as an index, and this index is very type flexible. As long as you have documents that are structured with fields containing some textual data. So as long as you have a very structured representation of your data, you can use Solr to index it and later search in it. So moving on, we will now provide a hands-on encounter with Apache Solr, and in this case we will use large Wikipedia XML files, which is available for free online. You can just get the Wikipedia data dumps of varying sizes. So in this case we will use what's known as a data import handler, which is an external library that you get with your Solr installation. This data import handler, it is very handy when you want to index relational databases or structured data like XML. And in this case we have XML, so data import handler is the way to go. A thing worth noting before we begin is that you can of course index Wikipedia files of varying sizes. We have successfully indexed 40 gigabytes in 45 minutes using an SSD hard drive, and that corresponds to roughly 8.4 million articles, Wikipedia articles, which is quite impressive when you consider that it is a full text index. For the video we have used a test file that is 161 megabytes. Okay. The first thing we should note here is that we assume that the viewer has no prior knowledge with Apache Solr. The first thing you need to do is download a Solr distribution like we've done here and extract it to your hard drive. You also need to make sure that you have Java 1.7 or higher. This video is done with Java 1.8. So once you have downloaded the distribution, there is not much else you need to do to start the server than to go into your bin folder and have a command line tool in this folder like we've done here, and you can simply press Solr start. This will start the Solr on port 8983, as we can see here. Now inside this Solr instance, the first thing you need to notice here is the core admin here, and inside Solr the databases or collection of documents, it's called a core. So you need a core before you can do anything else, and it's also when we're done indexing the Wikipedia files, it will become such a core. So we need to make a core called wiki with this command. And we're just going to give it a few seconds. There we go. So now we have a core called wiki. So this core is of course instantiated here in the interface, but it's also put locally on your machine in the server folder, Solr, and wiki, the one we just created right here. Now, what we want to do first is make sure that the input file, the Wikipedia input file, is present. We just put it here, and you can download it online. You can download any sizes you want. This is a few articles, approximately 161 megabytes. Okay, so we want to enter the configuration folder here. And when you configure Solr, there are two main files that you need to edit. One is called solrconfig.xml. This is the runtime configurations. And then there is the schema. The schema is telling Solr how to process the files that you give as input. So the first thing we want to do is this managed schema is automatically generated. We want to rename it to schema.xml. So now we can edit this, because we need to make sure that Solr knows how to handle our Wikipedia files. The third thing we're going to do here is enter solrconfig. Now we want to use something called data import handler, and this library is included in the folder that you download, the Solr folder, but it's unfortunately not included in this Solr config, so we need to make sure that it's here. We do it with this line here. There we go. The next thing we need to do is make sure that once Solr is loaded, it loads the schema.xml file that we just created, the one we renamed. So we need to go back to this classic index schema factory instead of this one called the managed index schema factory, which we're going to comment out here. Okay. Now the last thing we need to do in Solr config is to configure something called the request handler. The request handler makes sure that you can actually do an HTTP request that will initiate this data import handler. So we want to find the request handlers. They will be down here. There we go. And we need to make sure that we give our own request handler here. We have prepared it already. So you can see we call it DIH update, so data import handler update. It initiates the data import handler class that we just imported, and it reads this dataconfig.xml file that we haven't set yet, but we're going to in a moment. So this is the three changes we need to do in the Solr config. Next, this dataconfig file that we just referenced to. We're going to make that now. Now, this is the file that will be executed once you call the request handler. We have also prepared that. Now, this file, it lists the fields that we will meet in the XML article, in the Wikipedia XML file. It's ID, title, revision, user, and such. The text here is the actual article text, the big field with all the article data. We want to be able to search in this in the end. So we've hard-coded the URL here, where we put the input file. And you can see here that it sort of goes through all the pages, which corresponds to Wikipedia articles. And then it sort of extracts these fields. Okay. Then we need to edit the schema file that we renamed. And in the schema file, it's quite important here. You state the fields and what type they are, and then you tell Solr whether they should be indexed and whether they should be stored. So first of all, let's get the Wikipedia fields inside this file right here. So an important thing to note here is that we want to be able to search through all the fields, but once we get a search result, we just want it to show us the title of the Wikipedia article. We don't want all the text, we don't want the user ID, and with the user revision, we just want the title. So everything here has indexed true, and everything is stored false except the title. So we're able to get the title. To avoid any duplicate fields, we just remove anything that was here before. So now we make sure that this schema file can only be used for Wikipedia XML files. We also want to remove this unique key because it's already stated here. So that was the schema file. So now we have configured the schema, Solr config, and we have added this data config.xml. Now we're ready to restart the Solr server. And we're going to stop all instances. There we go. And we're going to start it again. Okay, we're just going to give it a few seconds. There we go. So now we can again take a look at the course here, wiki. And if we had made any mistakes in the configurations, there would be a big red bar up here telling us what we did wrong. Fortunately, we made no mistakes. So now we're ready to call the request handler that we configured. And we do this by calling the name of the core with the name of the update, DIH update, and with a command called full import. You can see it already started now. You can also call a delta import if you only have to update a few documents. But in this case we want to do a full import. So we can check the status. We can see that it's still running. Command is still running here. And there we go. Now it has indexed 5,171 documents. We can check it here in the core administrator. We can just update this. There we go. All the documents are here. Now we can go into the core selector here and select wiki. We can go to the query interface. This is a very nice interface in the Solr interface here, where you can specify queries. But you can also just do it here as a standard HTTP queries. Now we can query for everything here and see that indeed only the title is returned. And the most interesting part to search for is of course the text field, where we could search for Brad Pitt, for example, or just Brad. Now Brad, he's in a lot of articles, but if you just search for the full text, Brad Pitt instead, there's a bit less. And here we see Achilles, so that seems about right. Anyway, you can make smaller or larger requests here, and this shows how you can do the full text search of the Wikipedia files indexed with Solr. Alright, so that concludes our video. Thank you for watching, and we hope it was useful.